Welcome to episode 40 with Brian Gallagher. How are you, my friend? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm doing very well. How are you guys?
Doing great. Thank you. All right. So we always like to start off when we have our guests by asking, what are you loving right now?
What am I loving right now? I just discovered chocolate peanut butter RX bars. That has been my new kind of snack. That was a new flavor because I've been eating those for a while. And I'm a huge chocolate peanut butter fan, especially in ice cream. But I just found these that I really like. And I'm actually loving a brand of athletic gear called 10,000 that I wear for pretty much all my workouts. It's super functional. It's very minimalist in its aesthetic. So, and me being the simple man, I like very neutral colors and things that are not very flashy. So these are that's a brand that I'm really digging right now.
Have you tried the maple sea salt flavor of the RX bars?
Is it maple sea salt or is it? I thought it was maple something else.
I don't know.
I have had that.
I could just be making it up.
I default to because there's a chocolate sea salt. I thought the maple was something else, but I could be wrong.
What is it? I'll Google it.
I default to chocolate. So chocolate sea salt I really like.
That one is good.
But chocolate peanut butter is my new favorite. Hands down.
I haven't tried these yet, so I feel out of the loop here.
Chocolate peanut butter is delicious. If you like peanut butter.
I like peanut butter.
Yeah, I love peanut butter.
I'm assuming everybody loves chocolate. I know one person in this entire world who doesn't like chocolate, but everyone else I know likes it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope you're not friends with that person.
Unfortunately I am. No.
Well, we know what to not get that person for Christmas.
Yeah, right. So tell us more about this 10,000 workout gear. Like, how'd you find them?
So I found them. I actually met the guy who found it is a guy named Keith. I actually met his wife first because she worked for ClassPass, who we partnered with as a fitness studio. I run a fitness studio called Throwback Fitness. We partnered with ClassPass very early on, and I met his wife, Danielle, and I ended up going to a dinner that was all kind of fitness people. A guy you know very well, Eric Hinman, was there also. And I walked in, I saw Danielle. She introduced me to Keith. He told me what Keith was doing. I checked the website out. I went to a workout with him where he was offering the gear, and I tried it on, and I absolutely loved it. And I bought a bunch of it, and then I started working with him as an ambassador. And I just love the gear. I mean, the t-shirt I'm wearing now, I wear for all of my workouts, and probably about 80% of the time when I'm not working out.
Okay.
My wardrobe's very simple, and I have a bunch of these t-shirts that I wear all the time.
Very cool. Do they make women's gear as well, or just men?
No, it's all men's right now.
Okay.
So it's a very kind of limited line. They have a few pairs of shorts. They have a few different kinds of t-shirts and tanks, and they make compression shorts and boxer briefs, but it's all men's at this time. And I don't know if he has plans to go into women's. He is slowly starting to expand like the line in terms of the type of shorts and even with colors.
Mm-hmm.
But he's starting to expand now. They sell them through. They sell a line through SoulCycle. They sell a line through Equinox. And it's just really nice gear.
Cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
For the ladies listening, gift ideas.
Ideas.
The gentlemen in your life.
Yeah.
But the t-shirts are soft. So if you like soft t-shirts, maybe you like to wear them. It wouldn't be as slim fitting or as for women, but they are nice t-shirts. Maybe it's a sleepy tee.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
It's like the yoga pants for men, though.
Yeah.
Like how all we wear are yoga pants. All you need to wear are those shirts.
Yes.
With pants, though.
Yeah.
Don't Donald Duck it.
Casey, I hope you're going to curse a little bit during this because I do really appreciate your potty mouth on your Instagram story.
Mm-hmm. She'll get there.
Yeah, it happens usually.
Okay.
I usually try to keep it,
So I don't really have to keep it clean, right? I mean,
No.
I'm assuming no.
No.
We all get warmed up.
I don't know if that would get edited or beat, but I'm like, no, she's a potty mouth. She's definitely going to encourage you. She is.
Yeah.
Brian even commented once that he.
I did, but I enjoy it. I think it's funny. It's kind of like unexpected, but I like it.
Right? Especially from Casey. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 You're
Yeah.
welcome, guys. I'm
Potty mouths accepted around here.
Yes. Encourage.
Yes, exactly. Makes life more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really funny. I figured I should like explain how Brian and I even became like Instagram friends. So Eric was on Kate Kroll's podcast. And so that's how I started following him. And then you were like randomly in Colorado, I think.
I was a couple times this year.
Okay. And so Eric was tagging you in tons of stuff. And so then I watched one of your stories and you did like some stupid hard workout. And I was like, okay, this dude is cool. I will follow him. And now we're Instagram friends.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, right.
And then you made fun of my face lotion. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So we can be friends now.
Yeah.
Sunscreen. Or she maybe slight scold for my sunscreen. Or that I wasn't wearing it. Maybe not it was the sunscreen. It was that I didn't have it. I told you I wasn't wearing it. You were like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely got the hand slap from your self-appointed esthetician on that one.
There you go.
But you took it well. So
Took it well.
And now we're
I
friends.
knew it was for the greater good.
yes, exactly. Your Instagram followers are going to appreciate your face looking
I think,
nice.
Right? I hope. I hope.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, talking about your killer, stupid hard workouts, how did you get started in health and wellness?
So I fell in love with weightlifting actually when I was 13, super young. My dad introduced me to it to help me prepare for my first season of wrestling and my last season of wrestling. I did 1 year of wrestling, but the benefit of that was that I found weightlifting. My dad bought me a really nice set for our basement when I was growing up, and I was just hooked instantly. Fast forward 15 or so years, maybe even a little further. I was working in this job that I didn't particularly like. I had a friend who had a great idea for a fitness concept. So we were having lunch one day. We had worked together for a number of years. He had left the firm that I was still working at, and we stayed in touch. And he's like, hey, let's have lunch. And we had lunch. And during this lunch, he's like, I still don't know if he invited me to this lunch to ask me or not. I forgot to ask him that. But he did ask me if I wanted to work on it with him. And I said, absolutely. And it was kind of like a lot of closely geared toward the kind of workouts that I do now on my own Instagram handle, like high intensity interval workouts. We incorporated a rowing machine, which we both really loved, but we wanted to make it game and competition based in some way that we could have people engaging with one another. So it ended up being, we try to take people back to their gym class and their recess days through this concept, which is called Throwback Fitness. We ran a studio in the city for a number of years. The business, we transitioned it into an instructor certification model. So now we're partnering with facilities. We have several in Philadelphia. We just got one in Jersey. We have one in Canada where we're training their instructors to teach the program that we developed. But then that's how kind of I got into fitness. And I've also done, and Casey, how we met is I branched off, did my own kind of like personal brand and like how I like to live my life and how that ties into my own health and fitness. And that's kind of how I got started on that front. But yeah, it all dates back to my teenage years. And I got to thank my dad, who still goes to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. He'll be 60 years old in March, and he goes about 4 times a week at 5 a.m. With the same partner for the past 30 years. So as long as I can remember, he's been going. So he's been a major influence and inspiration for my own personal fitness journey.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Go Dad.
All right. So, yeah, right. I was, as any good podcast host would do, I was stalking you today in preparation of the interview. And you have a very interesting story about leaving your job and jumping into the entrepreneurial world.
So, again, this dates back to my buddy. He asked me if I wanted to work on this concept with him. I was still working my corporate job. My corporate job was investment banking. I moved to New York at the age of 25 to take on this investment banking job. I originally grew up in Philadelphia. So we had started working on this while I was still working my day job, and he was also still working his day job. So we were basically moonlighting as fitness instructors. I would literally roll to the studio in my suit, change into my old school gym teacher uniform, which if you were stalking, maybe you've seen pictures, I think is kind of amusing.
No, I missed those.
You have
Damn
to check those out. I look like a 1970s gym teacher.
Yes.
So I would go and change into that, teach our classes. And this was all in a shared space that we were renting from other people at the time. That's how we got our start. We were very methodical about testing it in a lower risk area or lower risk kind of way. We didn't go out and build this gigantic space with that kind of build it and they will come mentality, which I'm so glad we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm moonlighting as an instructor. Everything's going really well. We're growing our classes. We're growing our audience. It came time to get our own studio. We had signed a lease for a studio on February 14th, 2014. I had planned to quit my job March 3rd, which was a little over 2 weeks later. I had my review with my bosses, and it turns out on February 20th, they let me go. They laid me off. So it was kind of I didn't really need the push because I'd already planned to go. Mm-hmm. But the benefit of me getting let go 2 weeks earlier than I had planned was that I received severance to go off and kind of open this business that I'd already been working on. And I already knew what I was going to do. So I considered it luck, a sign from the universe that it was kind of time for me to go and try something new. Because I had kind of feared leaving because it's a very well-paying job. You learn a lot. You're working with super, super smart people. So it's a really hard thing to give up, but it was just something that I didn't love. And the main thing was that when I was probably about 30, 31 years old, I was looking at the guys that were 10 years ahead of me and just realizing that it wasn't what I wanted to do. And if I didn't make a move now, it was going to be me that was going to be in that same position. Not that it was bad, and not that it's just not what I wanted for my life at that time. So getting laid off was a blessing for me. It was funny. I called my mom when I got laid off, and she was like so sad for me, and I couldn't stop smiling. It was like a very weird time, but one that I was really excited about. And then, so that gave me the month of March to kind of get the studio furnished and ready to go. And then April 5th, we opened our doors and we were off and running. And then my business partner had quit his job about a year later. We were both full time. So that's kind of how I got started. We got started and how I left the job, but it was very much an overlapping thing. So it wasn't like, hey, I have an idea, I got to quit my job so I can work on it. Mm-hmm. It was background. Like I was doing it a couple hours a day, and until we got to a point where we knew that it could be a full-time gig, we didn't need to do anything drastic until we knew that it was ready, until we knew that we were ready and it was time. So there were very clear signs, like me getting laid off was a clear sign. Mm-hmm. And then once we had we're teaching 30, 40 classes a week, we knew that we both needed to be full time. So my business partner and I had discussed it, and he made the decision that it was time to leave. So that's probably one of the questions I get asked the most. Like how did this happen? How did you start? And that's probably one of my favorite parts of our journey through Throwback Fitness.
That is, I mean, like you said, total blessing in disguise. I remember when I left my corporate job, it was that, I guess, kind of tipping point for me was I was offered a promotion. I didn't.
Oh, wow.
And so that was the part where I was like, all right, time to take the skincare business or, totally quit it. And then, but after I gave my notice, I immediately went and shit my pants. It was it was so scary.
It's scary, right? But
yeah.
I mean, I guess luckily they didn't counter. You know what I mean? So if I were to go say, hey, I'm going to leave, and they didn't say, well, hey, we want you to stay. We're going to promote you. We're going to give you X amount of dollars more. That would have made my decision a lot harder, as opposed to me not really having a decision. It was like,
right.
What I had to think about it, my mind was still pretty much made up. But I feel if that would have definitely made it a little harder. So I applaud you and commend you for being able to still make that decision with that promotion in hand. That's a hard thing to turn down. And once you get hooked in, and the way I looked at it too is the longer I got hooked in, the harder it was going to be for me to leave. Mm-hmm. So I think it happened at just a great time, because then the money starts to get better and your time frees up a little more, but you're still spending a large chunk of your day doing something that you don't love. I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the same way with my job too.
Yeah.
So
You didn't hate it, right? But
yeah, it was just like, meh.
What were you doing?
I was actually working in fundraising at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fundraising in what capacity?
For a medical school.
Okay.
So I was helping to plan events and like more donor relation
Okay, got it.
type thing.
That's what you were doing at UT, right?
Yeah.
Is that where you went, Casey?
No, I just lived in Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's awesome how the universe kind of gives you signs like that, you know?
It's inspired to get me out, right? It felt great.
Yeah. It's cool how stuff like that works.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, what about just like, I know you're the simple man, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of like this minimalist mindset that you have.
Yeah.
How do you portray that in business?
It's harder in the business with respect to Throwback, which I'm running with a partner.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing my own kind of personal brand, it's a lot easier, I think, to do that where I don't have to kind of consult with somebody else as to what is too or not simple enough for me. Like I definitely carry it into Throwback with my partner, but there's a lot of times where he'll be like, "Hey, we can't do something like this," and I'm totally open to that. I know I have to work with somebody on that, so it's like makes it a little more difficult, and it's nice to have someone to bounce ideas off of. And what I do with Simple Man Guide is not. There's not much of a business there yet. I'm trying to build a brand. What my goal is to build a brand and build an audience with people who find me relatable and find me as a trustworthy source of information with respect to health, wellness, and to the degree that I can expand that into lifestyle and kind of the way I tie my minimalism mindset into consumerism and the way I like to spend my time, where I tried to disassociate feelings of happiness with buying things and needing money to do that. So I try to make it more like experience and relationship based to derive my own happiness. Cause I used to be in that mindset when I'm at a job and your bank account gets replenished and filled every week. And sometimes you just going to buy something kind of makes you happy, or buying clothes. And I tried to just completely detach myself from that. And I guess what started that for me was a trip I took back in 2011 with a bunch of friends of mine. We went to Africa. We climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and I came home and I walked to my apartment and I was instantly anxious because I had so much stuff. And I realized that I just had a fantastic 3 weeks of my life spent on a mountain and in other parts of Africa with just a backpack. And I was like, I don't need all this stuff. Like, this is all extraneous to me. And I went on like an extreme purge with just about everything in my apartment. And some people think my brother, for instance, makes fun of me all the time. He just thinks I'm like super weird and extreme with how I kind of live my life. But I enjoy it. And now it becomes almost like a challenge. Like how little can I get by with, and can I still have fun and enjoy my life and spend time with the people that I love to spend time with and that kind of thing. So it's kind of moved from health and wellness into other parts of my life as well.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it crazy so I also took a trip to Kenya that was life-changing like that. Yeah. And I mean, you just come back and you feel like such a dick, where you just have so much stuff.
So much. What do I do with all this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're pissed off about, a flat tire
right.
I mean, it's just stupid stuff like that.
Stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just try to eliminate all of the stuff that was what I consider to be extra. Like if I looked at something, and clothes, for instance, was almost a pretty easy one for me. Cause like after several years and you're buying clothes regularly, you just have a bunch of stuff that you don't need, that you never wear. And my way of looking at that was like, I'm going to try something on. If I don't feel like $1 million in it, I am getting rid of it, because chances are I'm never going to feel like $1 million in it. I'm always going to feel kind of okay, and feeling kind of okay doesn't help you have a level of confidence that gives you the feeling that you can kind of do anything, like to take risks. And like, I want that feeling more in my life. And if it's something simple as like clothing doesn't give me that, then why do I keep it? Why do I need it? I didn't. The answer was I didn't. So I got rid of a lot of things. And that kind of translated into other areas of my life away from clothes. Like my apartment is pretty simple, as you can imagine. But yeah, it's just something that it started in one area and just expanded into everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I've been on a couple trips myself, like Thailand, Spain, just with a backpack for like a month. And I come home and it's like 3-bedroom house, all this stuff, and it is overwhelming. Why the fuck do we have all this shit? Like we don't even use any of it, you know?
I had a desire when I first got out of college, I was 22, 23, 24. You want to get a job. I wanted like a gigantic house. I wanted a couple nice cars. And now I'm in a 1-bedroom, tiny ass apartment, and I couldn't be happier in it. I love it. My worst nightmare is kind of like owning like a giant 4-bedroom house now. It's just like, I just don't want to, just your life. It's so funny how things change over the course of your life, but I'm in such a different place than I was, and that I imagine I would be in at 38. I'm 38 now. Where I thought I would be at 38 when I was 22, just exiting college and entering the workforce. It's just the path my life has taken is just completely different than what I had thought. And I'm okay with that. I couldn't be happy with it.
It's totally perfect. Yeah. Definitely.
But you also live in New York City, where your rent is probably the same.
I do live in New York City, so it's pretty expensive. I am planning to move at some point, probably in the next 2 years. Casey, Denver is on that short list. There's only a couple towns that I'm considering. Denver is one, San Diego is the other.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. Good places.
Yeah,
for sure.
If you come to Denver, we can be real friends.
Yeah, I know. Well, when I come, we'll definitely have to meet in person, and that will be
we can go
in the next couple months. Yeah, you'll know. I promise. I will tell you.
And wear our vests.
Yeah. But you're going to be well versed in the Midtown Uniform Instagram handle, so we'll definitely wear our vests around. We'll even tag them in a couple posts.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that.
Counting down until the day comes.
Yeah, I will let you know. Megan, are you in Denver also?
No, I'm in Houston.
Okay.
Yep, I'm in Houston. So
Not
we're all
your vests there.
Not many vests here. No. Just more of the Instagram gazing is what we have versus real life. Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's pretty hot here year round. So unfortunately, no vest for me.
That's kind of what I'm looking for, though. So I San Diego probably has a slight leg up on Denver at this point.
Yeah.
But every time I go to Denver, it jumps back in the race. It's like, oh man, like I really like this place a lot.
Yeah.
And the winters here are not New York winters.
They're not, meaning they're not as bad.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, like New York winters suck ass.
It's a different cold.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in Colorado, it's not that bad. And you can actually have fun in the snow. And you're not walking around the city just all huddled up, just freezing your ass off.
I'm not a big fan of snow anymore, though. I'm really not. Especially in the city. It looks cool for like the first hour, and then it's just
dirty and gross.
And yeah.
Colorado's so different, though.
Yeah, it's so different.
I haven't spent any time in the winter there, so
yeah.
I think I'm going to come out probably in late January or early Feb. So that'll give me a good sense.
Yeah.
Of what it's like. Yeah.
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 Not
nearly as bad.
Okay.
It's
I'll
really
take your word for it. Casey, how long have you been there?
Well, I grew up in Colorado.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I moved back here about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
But I think I told you I lived in New York for 3 years. So I've done New York winters. So
yeah. Okay.
I can attest.
You can attest. I trust your.
I'm a legit source.
Okay.
Yeah. It's tough for me because I lived in Steamboat Springs. I went to college there, so Colorado. And then I also finished my bachelor's in Boca Raton, Florida.
Oh, okay.
So I've been in both places.
Yeah.
I'm a total beach girl.
Yeah.
I love the beach. Tropical weather is just like my thing.
You leaving Houston soon?
One day, yes. Here for the boyfriend job. So we're just kind of hanging out, and so yeah. But one day we'll be out of here.
One day it'll be girlfriend time and you get to scoot to a beach.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like, hey, we did Houston for a lot of years. That's my turn.
Yeah,
My turn to live.
exactly. We're going back to Florida.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so definitely. I'm a beach girl. But so you've got Throwback Fitness in New York. You guys have a studio there?
No, we did. So we ran the studio from 2014 to 2017. Some lease issues came up near the end of our lease. We went month to month for a little bit. And then we decided to vacate the space. The landlord, for the details, the landlord had found a tenant that wanted to sign a 5-year lease. We were not interested in signing on that long, so we decided to step away. We taught classes for another year. I love teaching classes. It's just one of my favorite things. No matter what kind of day I was having, if I got into a class and started teaching and interacting with 15 or 20 people at a shot for a class, it just completely changed my mood, and I really loved it. So it was hard to walk away from that, especially the human interaction. So now I'm basically working on my own or with my partner. My partner and I don't have to spend all of our time together like we once did at the studio. So it's a big change going from working in a studio and interacting with close to 100 people a day. Now I can sit in my apartment and not interact with anybody except on the phone if I wanted to do that. Obviously I don't want to do that, but it's a big difference. That was a hard change, and I'm still kind of figuring out ways to get more interaction. I mean, I'm making a ton of phone calls and that kind of thing, but it's not the same as like interacting with people in person. It's not. Yeah,
totally.
So it's a hard shift, but yeah, we decided that if we were looking at the business objectively, which was slightly tougher for us to do because it's something that we created, but that's what we basically did as investment bankers, was objectively look at businesses from the numbers view. So when we looked at our own, even though we were emotionally tied to teaching and because that's how we got our start, we knew that it was time to kind of transition to business to something else. So we did.
And so now you're just certifying trainers.
Yeah. So we either do in-person certifications, or we just got an online platform built. So what we do is certify instructors to teach the program that we develop. So it's basically high intensity interval workouts with a game layer on top. And that is to help get people interacting and try to distract them from the fact that they're working out. I loved gym class in high school, and I love to work out. So I don't really need to be distracted. I'm the minority of the population, though, and anyone else that enjoys to work out is the minority. Everyone knows they need to work out for the health benefits, but not everyone wants to do it. A lot of people have that attitude that it's like, this is a chore. This is something that I have to do. So we were trying to change that. If we were making it fun, but still competitive and engaging and interactive, we like to think of it as like we can get people to work out without really knowing they're working out. That's kind of our goal.
That's cool.
So we train. So to answer your question, we train people to teach the classes like we do, and then we had an app built where we can distribute our class. We still do the programming for the classes, so we make up the classes, put them on this app. Our certified coaches subscribe to the app, and then they can access the classes, which they are then free to teach wherever they are instructors.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. Do they have to have a personal trainer certification existing, or can anyone do this?
Anyone can do it, but usually if they're training at a gym, it's usually only people that are going to be instructing already. So if they're instructing at a gym, most facilities are going to require them to have some kind of certification. If they're doing personal training, there are certifications geared strictly towards that. If they want to be in group fitness, there's others that are geared specifically towards group fitness. And what we did to kind of incentivize and lend credibility to our own program was get it accredited by these oversight boards. So there's a very well-known personal training one that if they take our certification, once they're certified with this personal training one, they can get their continuing education credits. The same thing with a well-known group fitness one that we also did. AFA and NASM are the two boards that our program is accredited by, both in person and online.
That's awesome. Those are huge.
Yeah. They could take either one of our either one of our certification platforms, either in person or online, and still receive those credits. So that's something that I think the trainers, the coaches that we certify, they appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. That's
awesome.
super cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Mm-hmm. It's motivating for people to do it as well, because then they can get those continuing education credits for sure.
They have to do it anyway. They have to get those credits anyway to stay certified. And now they have a whole new kind of tool to pull from to teach.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of facilities will struggle with like retention and trying to find ways to make the classes like interesting or intriguing or fun. And we try to do that with our program. So when we closed the studio down, we looked at our presence on, and this is really how we came up with it. We looked at our presence on Yelp, and we had the highest rated facility in the super competitive market of New York City. We were higher rated than any other of the larger brands out there. And we were like, wow, we don't want to walk away from this. We have this concept that people really enjoyed. How can we turn this into something without just closing the studio down and losing that entire Yelp presence and reputation that we had worked really hard to get? And that we're, it's like a little brag because I'm very proud of it. So we were trying to figure out a way that we could continue that and share that with others. And the only way to expand it was to kind of take this route, because if you're in the studio mode still, it's very hyper local. You can only kind of connect with the people that are within, that either work or live within a 20 block radius. Outside of that, they're going to go somewhere else because there are literally hundreds of options in New York City. Mm-hmm. So we needed to find a way to get in other parts of the country, and this was the best way that we could come up with. And it's still kind of in its infancy. We're a few months in, and we probably have, we're 4 facilities, and I think we have 20 instructors certified, but we want to get a lot more. So that's our immediate goal for the next, 1 to 2 years, to get as many instructors on there as we can.
Yeah. That's awesome. Cool. I love your creativity and just how you guys pivoted that.
I have to attribute that the creativity with the programming is my partner. We have such complementary strengths, and even personalities. But the thing that was good about it was the program worked for both of us, because it kind of took the need for an outgoing and bubbly personality for an instructor to have and made the workout fun anyway. My partner and I have completely different personalities. He's not one that enjoys being the center of attention. He'd rather stay back and do like the administrative kind of back office creative stuff where he's creating the workouts, and then he would prefer that I would try to teach them. So it really works out well. But the creativity in that is 100% him. He's a great guy. We've known each other for 10 years. We work very well together. And I'm very grateful that he kind of asked me to come on board with him. So the creativity in that aspect was definitely, in creating the program, was him. We both kind of put our heads together to figure out the way to take this outside of the studio. So I know probably about 2 years ago, we had all these programs that we created, all these games that we created, and we're like, we should probably start to document this. So I kind of took it upon myself to almost like write a book that has all this stuff in there, which has then become the basis for our certification.
That's awesome.
We worked well together to make this happen. And still very young, but it's like starting a new business. I mean, even though it's the same concept and name, it's literally like starting a new business.
Yeah. Which is always so exciting. Like that's, I feel like that's always like the really fun part.
My very next sentence was like, it's very fun. It's like, you got to figure out, you got new challenges, you have to connect with people in a different way. And it ends up becoming, you're in that same beginner stage as you were a couple of years ago, but with the same brand, but with a different kind of method, and I enjoy it. I really like it. And now it's even more flexible and mobile, allows me to like move around and do it, because now we're not tied to a brick and mortar spot in New York City, which is working out well for us. My business partner, Ryan, again, he's actually moving to Charlotte in a couple months. He's from Charlotte. He got married in May. Him and his wife are probably, they want to leave the city and go kind of move down south. So they're actually doing that in February. And if we had the studio,
no way,
it would have never worked. Yeah. So this is better for both of us for many, many reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a couple of audience questions, and I thought that this one would work really well with just what we were talking about. So Barker Beauty, my friend Anne, she asked, when doubt creeps in, what do you tell yourself and how do you overcome it?
Oof, that is a very tough question. And now I try to like draw on other things I've done in the past before that I would have looked at as scary. And I try to really keep in my head that anything new that you try and do is going to take a transition period. There's nothing at this age where you can jump in and just be an expert from the start. You have to be comfortable with not knowing everything. And regardless of what it is, starting a new business, learning a new skill, you have to just be able to accept the fact that you're going to suck at it. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to suck, but I tell myself that, hey, you figured out a lot of things over the years once you were able to dedicate a little time to it. And whatever else I want to do is no different. I'm going to suck at it when I first start. But as long as I can kind of like dedicate myself to learning it and understand that I'm going to be uncomfortable for a little bit, you can pretty much get through anything by kind of telling yourself that. And the one quote that always sticks in my head is, you can't win if you don't play. So I have to get out there and I have to play if I want to do anything, if I want to win anything. Sitting on the sidelines doesn't really get you anywhere. And and thinking of the fact that I'm going to look back in any part of my life and say, what if I did this? Where would I be now if I did this? That doesn't sit well with me. I don't want any sort of regrets. So just being comfortable with the fact that I'm going to suck at it, but I figured out a lot of things. I'll figure it out. That's kind of what I tell myself.
Mm-hmm. What's that quote? I'd rather live a life of oh wells rather than what ifs.
Oh, it's a great quote. I've heard many different variations, but never felt that way. But yeah, that was kind of what also propelled me to make the decision to leave my job. I mean, again, that decision was made, but I got pushed out a little earlier. But I didn't want to be the 40-year-old guy thinking like, man, where would my life be if I did this? Like, how much fun would this be? How could we have done well with this? And that's kind of what drives a lot of my decisions.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. We have another one here. Also, this is a very important decision.
Okay.
Is there a beer that's healthier than other beers?
Oof.
This is Richie Conroy, who is a realtor in Dallas, used to race triathlons with him. He's a stud athlete.
Okay. The one beer that I usually drink now is Guinness, but not because it is a lower calorie beer. So I'm not sure if that makes it healthier. But that's not the reason I decided to start drinking it or drank that almost exclusively. When I drink things like IPAs, they don't really sit well with me. They kind of bother my stomach. And actually don't really like the taste. I like the taste of Guinness. It has almost like a chocolate / coffee kind of undertone to it. And those are two things that I like a lot. So that's the beer that I kind of tend to drift towards when I do have a beer. I really don't drink any other beers besides Guinness and or stouts.
I heard once, and I don't know where I heard this, and it could just be made up, that Guinness has more iron.
That I don't know.
So
Casey,
maybe Guinness will be a sponsor now. But.
Here's the reason. One of the reasons I'm really excited to come. This is a minor reason because of the people there that I love that I want to come and visit. But a minor reason is because I had my favorite stout at a place called Snake River Brewery. I think it's in Jackson. I was recently in Jackson, like over the fall, in the early fall.
Okay.
And I had their milk stout, which won the Great American Brew. You guys can help me out. I think it's in Denver or Boulder.
Yeah, Great American Beer Festival.
This one won 2 years in a row for the best milk stout. The Snake River milk stout. It has 1/3 of a glass. 1/3 of it is cold brew, and it's
no way.
Absolutely delicious. And it's only regional. So I would imagine you'd be able to get it in Denver, but I'm not sure. So maybe if you like scouts, you can check it out.
I'll look for it. Yeah, I was going to tell you that Jackson is not in Colorado, but
did I say that? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just making a joke because you're like, yeah, I was in Jackson and had this beard. I'm like, dude, no.
Well, only because it's regional. So there's a better chance of it being in Denver than being in New York.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'll look for it.
Yeah.
That way you're not.
I'm hoping it's there because that's the closest I'm going to get to Jackson in a year.
Yes, I will look for it.
And it's going to have a lot to do on his decision where he moves. So
it will, and where I visit.
That's true. Wait, let me write it down. What was it called again? Snake something?
River. It was the brewery, Snake River Brewery.
Snake River. Okay.
And I think it's in Jackson. Pretty certain it's in Jackson.
Excellent. All right, let's see.
Which I know is not in Colorado now. Thank you, Casey.
Good job. I have a degree in geography, so
nice.
I'm always here to help. All right, so speaking of helping you out, let's talk about your man skincare routine.
Oh, okay. You can help me out here. It's very simple. So I usually just wash my face, and I actually made this a goal to be more habitual with my washing my face and moisturizing, that kind of stuff. I use a Nivea kind of skin wash before I go to bed. And I use some kind of, I think it's like Pond's moisturizer just all over my face. When I'm in the shower, I just wash with whatever soap is in the shower. Yeah, I can you're taking that at me. You're the one I can see now, so you're just like, oh my God. Edit. So I'm open to helpful tips, Casey. I do have a couple. I had a friend who I trained a couple years ago, and he wanted like 30 sessions, and he's like, hey, tell me what you charge. He paid me in cash, but he used to work with Kiehl's. He gave me a ton of Kiehl's stuff. So I started Kiehl's eye creams that I use. No good? Are you still laughing at me?
No, it's kind of an inside joke because I go off on Kiehl's all the time on Instagram stories because it's a bunch of bullshit. Like they greenwash the crap out of their products. They use toxic stuff. So on behalf of the show, Brian, we will send you some skincare.
Oh, well, I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. So that's pretty much my skincare. That's it.
Oh, and then you do use sunscreen now, courtesy of your
I do. Audience, I was scolded over social media by Casey, so I make sure to use sunscreen now, all the time.
Excellent. You're closer to 40 than 30. You need to start.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm in the same boat, though, so that's why I can say
I am a lot closer to 40.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Okay, should endurance athletes strength train? This is from my friend LJ, who lives in Kansas. What else? Oh, and do you recommend lifting light or heavy?
Oof. Lifting light or heavy is going to be purely a personal preference on what you're looking to do. Me personally, I used to lift heavy when I wanted to get super strong and bigger. Back when I was in high school and college, the kind of the look that people were going for was just to add as much mass as you can. So lifting heavy was the thing to do. As I've gotten older, I've definitely shied away from that. I do weights very rarely now. I feel a lot better doing body weight. I feel very good just all the time. Even when I'm doing it and even when I'm not doing it, I was getting very sore from doing heavyweight stuff. And I found myself walking around with something always achy. And I'm like, man, I work out to feel better, but I always feel like shit. So I just stop. All body weight now. And that's because of my age. I feel like my goal now is kind of become train to sustain. I'm going to need all these joints for another, hopefully 40, 50 years. I don't want to break anything down too bad now. So I feel good doing body weight stuff. So I stick with it. But if you're younger and you're looking to put on size and you want to gain strength because you're an athlete of some sort, maybe you're playing a sport, lifting heavy is the way to go. It just depends on what you are looking to do personally. It's very hard to give an answer to somebody just with that question. Hey, should I lift heavy or light? Well, I don't know. What are you, a runner? Are you a swimmer? What kind of athlete are you? What are you looking to
Both. He's a triathlete.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I don't think added mass is going to be very beneficial in something like that, where you are basically not wanting to carry extra body weight as you're running, swimming, and cycling. So I would think that lighter weights, maybe done at a speedier clip in some kind of high intensity interval training way, could be beneficial as part of a regimen to help you train, as long as you were still doing your biking, running, and swimming as part of your training. Yeah, could you sub out if you're doing marathon training, for instance, and there's a bunch of a lot of programs that are out there that would say, hey, you should be doing your 5 to 8 mile runs in the middle of the week. Could you swap one of those out for a lightweight, high intensity interval training workout and still see benefits from that? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would argue even it'd be more beneficial for you to do that than to do the steady state. I'm sure many people will disagree with me on this. I'm not a marathon runner. I've only done one. But as someone who wants to be a little more well-rounded and not just a runner, I would recommend swapping out one of those runs for a lightweight kind of high intensity interval training workout.
You know, I totally agree with you on that. Just with the experience I had training for my ultra, I never ran 2 days in a row, except for I think one occasion, and I was lifting weights pretty frequently.
Yeah, when we first got started, my partner Ryan ran his first marathon, and he might have run cross country in high school. I can't remember, but he wasn't really a runner. He wanted to run New York, and he wanted to qualify for Boston. So
lofty goal.
Yeah, he decided, it was his first marathon. He decided that he was going to swap out all those 5 to 8 mile runs, and he substituted in high intensity interval training workouts. He did his long runs just to kind of prep his body. But he qualified for Boston. He ran a 3:05 in his first marathon.
Whoa.
So we wrote a bunch of blog entries on that, and we had a bunch of people react to that kind of stuff. I mean, runners are going to say, no, you need to run. But as a runner, I can't comment on that and say that my way is right or their way is right. I think it's really a matter of personal preference. If you are strictly a runner, maybe more running is better for you. Maybe you hate lifting weights. It's got to be something that you enjoy, or you won't do it anyway. So
that's a good point.
That's kind of my take on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool, Brian. Where can people find you?
They can find me personally on Instagram at Simple Man Guide. They can find Throwback Fitness, the business I run with my partner, at throwbackfit.com. And it's also Throwback Fit on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, my friend.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me. It's a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. Anything else?